Hello everyone and welcome to Hello Kitty Roller Rescue, a character action game based on, well, Hello Kitty. This is our base of operations. The first thing we're going to do is change the settings. We're going to turn the music all the way up because I think the music in this game is pretty adorable, and then we're going to head out into the main game. Welcome to the gameplay. We have Baditz Maru with us right now, but he's not going to be here for the rest of the game. We do a lot of hitting things in Hello Kitty Roller Rescue. She smacks a lot of stuff with her wand. She is a magical girl now, so, you know, you gotta get down to business. She has two combos. She has one where she swings her wand in a circle, and one where she bumps the enemy with her hip and sends them flying. Using them both effectively makes the game look a lot cooler. The enemies have different behaviors, like those blue guys will be running away from Kitty most of the time. After we drop down here, Baditz Maru will tell us we can knock apples out of trees to heal ourselves, but I don't think we'll be needing that. So when we bump an enemy with our hip, it sends them flying into other enemies, which can also damage them. It also works as a way to get enemies really far away from us if we don't feel like dealing with that one at the moment. And we can use it to pin enemies against the wall and stun them. So it's a very good attack. The one where we swing our wand in a circle is more straightforward, and it's best used when we don't want to send an enemy flying. Because sometimes you just don't want to do that. It makes it take longer. The average enemy takes about 5 hits, so one combo isn't enough to do them in. We also collect stars from them, which we can use to power our Love Radiation special attack, but we'll get to that later. Or let's get to that right now, rather, because this is a perfect opportunity. Love Radiation is an area of effect attack that destroys all normal enemies anywhere near us. Why is it called Love Radiation? Because Kitty is now a magical girl. Weren't you paying any attention? We can buy these cakes with our coins to heal ourselves, but we're never going to need to use that. I think there are a whole 3 points in the entire game where you knock trees down to get somewhere, but it's not a very long game. There's some boxes over in the corner that contain the key we need to get to save Kitty's mom. And of course we're going to get it, because we're not bad people. You might have noticed that we slide across the ground in a kind of dash. We can do that by pressing the R button. Makes us go a lot faster if we constantly tap it. Anytime you see the whoosh sound effect, that's because we're using our dash to make us go faster. The game can be very slow if you don't use it. We don't actually need to fight all of the enemies, by the way, but I'm going to fight most of them because it makes the game more interesting. There are some enemies we have to fight to get to new areas, but we don't need to fight all of them. Oh, before I forget, our dashing also acts as a dodge, and we're invincible while we use it against normal attacks. There are some special attacks that will still hit us. The best way to destroy crates is with Kitty's mid-air wand attack, because it blows them all up in a big pile. We're not going to be using any of these coins, by the way. They're all for extra stuff. Welcome back to home base. We've unlocked a new outfit. And of course we're going to put that on immediately. It doesn't give us any gameplay bonuses, but, you know, why wouldn't we wear it? Looks pretty snazzy. We can also talk to Kitty's mom now. She has all of the cinematics. And we're not going to buy any of them, because we're going to see the cutscenes for ourselves when they play in real time. So each mission has a gimmick, and the gimmick of this one is that we have to destroy the blue enemies before they teleport the shops away. By the way, this spinning attack is the first level of our Love Radiation special. We need to fill up 2 Love Radiation bars to use that area of effect one. So it's really cool that each mission has its own gimmick. And I like the gimmick of this one, but they give you way too much time to destroy the blue enemy. I mean, 90 seconds? It wouldn't take 90 seconds to destroy all of these guys. Sometimes things are too easy even for little kids, but other times grown adults will get their butts handed to them by Hello Kitty Roller Rescue. By the way, these green boxes that appear to block our path, they have the boss's face on them, so you can see ahead of time what the boss of this world is. Well, I say world, but every 3 stages there's a boss, that's what I mean. So the first level Love Radiation attack isn't all that useful for groups of enemies. It can deal damage to groups of enemies, but it can only kill about 2. But it is more useful against mini-bosses. The second level Love Radiation attack isn't that good for mini-bosses. So you might have noticed that Baditsumaru isn't with us this time, like I said. We will get other partners throughout the game, but none of them will be Baditsumaru. Anyway, when we talk to characters and rescue them, like this fellow right here, they will give us an extension on our life meter, exactly half an apple's worth. Now, it is entirely possible to go without talking to or rescuing some of the people in these levels, which is kind of hilarious, but then you don't get your partners or extra life boosts that way. Anyway, we just saved the last building, and now there's only one big fight before the end of the level. In case you're thinking these enemies are rather underwhelming, they kind of are. I don't think I've ever been hit by these red guys, but there are new enemies later that will shake things up and actually hurt us. I like that he says we must try to destroy the enemies, like failure is actually an option, when it clearly isn't. This blue enemy calls down bombs to be dropped on top of us, but we can easily jump out of the way. I don't think that enemy type ever reappears, or if he did, I kill him way too fast for him to summon any bombs. And yes, we are killing these guys. Destroy is just a friendlier word for kill. You can't pretend that's not what we're doing here. Kitty is a murderer. We could exit the level right now, but I'm just running around to destroy all the boxes for some reason. I mean, why not, right? welcome back to home base. We did unlock another new outfit, which we're going to put on before we go and fight the first boss. And inexplicably, I'm going to talk to Kitty's grandpa. I don't remember why I did this, because I just exited the menu immediately. So, I don't know. I do like the idea of unlocking more and more family members to talk to, but there's only one of them I was ever interested in, and we don't get her until the latest in the game. This boss has two attacks. He throws bombs at us and he has lasers. The lasers are easily jumped over, but they're definitely more dangerous than the bombs, especially since he has two of them, and it's easy to jump into the upper one. After he's done with his lasers, he starts hurling bombs. Now, fun fact, whenever you hit him with a bomb, it ends his laser phase immediately and he starts throwing more bombs. So you can easily get him into a loop where he never uses his laser again. Obviously, the bombs have a timer, so you can't throw absolutely all of them back at him, but you can throw a decent amount, and it helps that he throws more and more bombs the further you get into the fight. He also has very few invincibility frames, so he's kind of a joke. Welcome back to our base of operations. We're going to put on our new outfit again. This time it's casual. I've never known casual outfits to look this green, but whatever works. So in this level we have a new enemy type. These fellows have taken advantage of their armless form to roll at us. We can hit them while they're in mid-roll, so they're not that difficult to deal with, but they're still more of a threat than the most basic enemies were. And here are some dishwasher blocks. They throw plates at us. They only throw the plates straight forward though, so moving to the side just completely negates their attack. But if you spontaneously forget that you're in a 3D video game and just run straight at them, then you might get hit. So try to remember that you're playing a 3D video game. So the gimmick of this level is that there are 3 different areas with 3 of Kitty's friends. This is where Mimi, Kitty's sister, is trapped. So when the enemies notice us, they get an exclamation point above their head. You might figure this means there's something like stealth in this game. There is, but not like that. The exclamation point is really just for cute effect. There's no real reason to sneak up on enemies. You don't deal more damage or anything. When it does turn stealth time, the game will explicitly let you know that it is now stealth time. Alright, we've stopped the spinning coffee cups. That's what they called them. They're not teacups, they're coffee cups. So now we can go rescue Mimi. But of course it can't be that simple, so when we get up here, a bunch of dishwasher blocks spawn, and we're supposed to fight them while the carousel turns. But instead we just used our love radiation attack. Having a fight with projectile throwing enemies on a moving carousel is actually kind of cool. But I mean, come on, we got a timetable to make here. We're gonna collect all these coins before we talk to Mimi. So So now we have to head to the yellow door to save Purin. And no, in case you're wondering, you can't tackle them in any order you want. You always have to save Mimi first, then Purin, and then Lala. These coins weren't here before. I guess they spawned them so you'd have something to do on your way back. We have to stop the Ferris wheel right as Purin is at the bottom. The timing is fairly lenient, it stops on a dime. This is truly an evil plan the blocks have enacted. Trapping someone on a Ferris wheel, that's just uncalled for. Alright, Purin is one of the ally characters, so now he will follow us around and throw flan at enemies. And when the flan actually hits an enemy, it will prevent them from attacking for a short period. So that's kinda useful. His health bar isn't here this time because he's invincible during his first appearance. These new enemy types can be a little frustrating. They only come out of the ground when they're ready to attack you. And they fire missiles that go under the ground somehow, and you can't dodge past these. Of course, you can easily jump over them, and there's a big warning on screen before they get near you. They're probably the least fun enemies to fight, but you're also probably not meant to go out of your way to fight them. So I guess that's excusable. Fun fact, if you hit bump one of them into another, it will hit them even if they are underground. So that's kinda handy. You might notice that I never rotate the camera in this game. That's not because you're incapable of rotating the camera. It's because, you know, this is on the GameCube and the C-stick makes me uncomfortable. And I generally prefer to just center the camera behind the player character anyway. Oh, you may have noticed that in spite of us rescuing people in this level, we didn't get any health boosts. That's because this level consists entirely of rescuing people. So getting 3 health boosts in one level would be a bit ridiculous. I like that these new rolling enemies have a lightning bolt mohawk on their head for whatever reason. I'm not sure what that adds to their design, but it's kind of adorable. A lot of things in this game are kind of adorable. Okay, Lala has teleported to safety, so now we can just leave. There are no enemies on the way back, so all we have to do is make it to the fountain. Welcome back to home base. So we have yet another new outfit. So we're gonna put that on before we do anything else. And now we have Mimi to talk to, but all she does is give us the character profiles, so we're not very interested in that. Fun fact, it's possible to chase after that guy immediately and ignore Tabo. So now Tabo will fight alongside us along with Purin. Tabo just bashes his head into things, so he's a lot more direct in his confrontations than Purin is. The reason we came over here is because there are coins. We're not going to use them for anything, but we're going to collect them anyway. In nearly every level from here on out, we'll gain a new ally that we can select in the next mission. You saw that the mission select let me choose Purin as an ally this time. Next time we'll be able to choose Tabo as well. This looks less like dirt and more like the multicolored sludge from Super Mario Sunshine, but it probably should be cleaned up anyway. We can't advance to the next area until we clean up all the sludge. It's really fun to hip bump enemies in this area because they smack against so many different obstacles. Very easy to stun them. There are also red bombs just lying around. Those will hurt us if we hit them with our wand, but we're just going to completely ignore them. We could also throw them at enemies, but it's just, I mean, our wand works so much better. I wonder why they chose to make the dirt, as it's called, like this weird blue colorful crayon mess. Maybe it was originally called something else in the Japanese release. These enemies spin toward us horizontally, instead of vertically like the roly guys. We can't hurt these enemies until they stop spinning, unlike the roly guys. It can be hard to hit them anyway because sometimes your allies gang up on them and won't let you have a shot. So after we clean up this mess, we could proceed directly to the next area. But there's a new enemy type here, well, another new enemy type that we can use to get to a secret area. He's a spring, so when we stun him with our wand, we can jump on him and use him as a platform to get to this place, up here. A lot of extra coins up here. This is an entirely optional area. But then again, we don't have to actually rescue Tabo either. So I guess a lot of things in this level are optional. It's kind of humorous to even allow you to leave Tabo behind like that. Like Kitty would actually do something like that. As always, we're going to put on our outfit before we head into battle. Not my favorite outfit. It's going to be a while before we get that one, but we'll get there eventually. No one to talk to here still, because we don't want anything they have to offer. We're going to talk to Grandpa very briefly anyway to save our progress. You could easily go this whole game without saving. It's not very long. But it's good to save just in case the game crashes or something. This is a pretty cool boss. We're going to use our cannons to defeat it though, and not the love radiation attack. There's a big pink arrow that tells us exactly where the choo-choo bomber is going to come from, and we need to pick a cannon that's along the track it's going to come by. The closer the cannon is to the choo-choo bomber, the easier it is to actually shoot it. After it passes by us, it unleashes all those volleyballs, which will hurt us if they touch us. Unless we're dashing, that is. There's some new enemy types with guns that spawn near the cannons and make using the cannons kind of difficult. So you have to find another cannon that's not occupied by those enemies, otherwise they'll shoot you off the cannon and you won't be able to attack. I think that's the main challenge of this boss, is finding a cannon that's not currently occupied by enemies. Because the longer the boss goes on, the more enemies will spawn. There's also a lot of coins during this boss battle. I used to think it was really difficult to get all of them, but there's plenty of time after the choo-choo bomber goes in a tunnel to grab coins before it comes back out again. And over here is a power-up for one of our characters. If we get 3 of those, they level up. There's not enough levels in the game to level up all of them unless you feel like backtracking, which we're not going to do. This boss definitely did used to give me a lot of trouble. That seems pretty silly now, but then again, I never used Hello Kitty's dash all the time back when I used to play it. Getting from cannon to cannon would take a lot longer if you weren't using her dash. You know, playing the game without her dash ability would probably be unbearable now because I'm so used to using it to get everywhere. I find it a little weird that even though this boss is called the Choo Choo Bomber, its bombs are just volleyballs, which are kind of harmless. Oh, by the way, these new enemies shoot 3 times before they reload. Helpful information, but we're not going to see them again for a bit. I guess all of the weaponry in this game is kind of funny kids stuff, so... Are you tired of me mentioning new outfits yet? Well, too bad, because we have another one. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what this weird static sound is whenever we're in Kitty's house, that's actually part of the music track. I used to think that was something wrong with my game disc, but that's just how the music track sounds. Well, how cheap were the bananas, Monkichi? Because you could probably just get them a lot cheaper by buying them from an actual farmer. The market's never the best place to go to get cheap food. Especially if the market looks this pretty. Eat your heart out, Walmart. Anyway, I said every level has a gimmick. In this level, the gimmick is turrets. They're living turrets that shoot missiles at us. They're not too difficult to deal with, but they can retract themselves into the ground to avoid our attacks. There are a lot of corridors, or rather aisles, with turrets and tightly packed enemies, so that would probably be difficult if this weren't Hello Kitty Roller Rescue. But it's still fun and has some relatively unique level design for the game. Which is good, because this game's very short. You can't just use the dash to become invincible to the missiles, by the way. You actually have to jump over them or go around them. But, you know, that's not asking a whole lot. I do want to give this game praise for how colorful this level is. I mean, the whole game is colorful, but there are advertisements and fake food and stuff everywhere. Also want to give the game praise for changing Kitty's skates so that they match her current outfit. I mean, pink clashes with a lot of things. By the way, whenever we hit the turrets with the third strike of our twirly wand combo, it sends them spinning. This is actually super useful because it stuns them very briefly and allows us to get more hits in. We can also, of course, use the first level of our Love Radiation attack to completely obliterate the cannons. But we don't always have that handy, you know. I also really like the music of this level. It's a pretty great remix of the main theme. I suppose if you were in the mindset to be overly tactical, you could use these tables as cover against the missiles, but jumping over them will do just fine. Yeah, the music here is pretty sweet. We're gonna come in this room and use our Love Radiation to destroy these enemies. We don't actually need to come in here yet. We're just gonna take them out ahead of time because we can. And of course we need to go and rescue Monkichi, because he has the key to move forward. And also because he's our friend and stuff. These enemies with skis are very good at charging at you while your back is turned. That's pretty much their entire function, but they're good at it. As always, we're going to use our jump attack to get rid of all these boxes, because that's the most satisfying way to do it. I mean, you gotta hand it to them, they're improving. Locking someone in the freezer aisle is way more dangerous than locking them on a Ferris wheel. After we enter this room, we're greeted with another mini-boss. He works exactly the same way as the chef did. So this time, not only did we unlock 2 outfits, but we also unlocked a new weapon. There are only 3 weapons in this game. They don't do anything different though, they're all cosmetic. Still, I don't think that's a bad thing, even if one of the choices of weapon is really weird. The toy hammer is not the weird one. Now let's go to the really only non-linear level in the game. The basic idea behind this level, as he just explained, is that there are 6 switches that you need to press in order to win. But you can also press them in any order you like. And instead of this level being really narrow or linear with corridors and locked doors, it's all just one big room with 6 switches. It's the only level in the game that's actually open like this. And it's kinda cute because even though it's a small area, there are little nooks and crannies to explore like this right here. And there are several ways you can get to each switch. This is also the level with the most platforming. Roller Rescue is by no means a 3D platformer. The jumping is very minimal. But this level is a 3D platformer. That was a little frustrating, but we'll just get back up and do it again. Whenever Kitty lands on someone or something, she kind of bounces off it. This isn't very noticeable in most of the levels, but here, where platforming is the main idea, it's a lot more noticeable. I like the idea that they set up a base of operations inside the mall. Also, Kitty should probably be wearing warmer clothing right now. I understand she's a magical girl and she has certain expectations to meet, but she's gonna freeze to death. With each of these switches we press, another yellow platform magically appears. We can use those platforms to get around the level a lot easier, but they're by no means necessary. On the ground level, there are a lot of those ski enemies, and a lot of those enemies that dive underneath the ground to become invulnerable. Those can actually be difficult to fight if for some reason you're in the mindset to fight them. But we're just going to keep hopping on platforms and ignore them. We're going to come over here to get my favorite switch of the level. I have to jump on these slanted platforms, and there are these icy vents that will push you off. It's actually a little bit difficult to get to this switch, unlike the other ones. If there were a level that I think would be most likely to frustrate the target audience of this game, it would probably be this one. Even the stealth level just lets you bash your way through if you're really bad at it. So in spite of Kitty just being whisked away by a dangerous machine, we're going to stop and change our outfit before we go and fight it. I mean, Kitty's got most magical girls beat. They usually only wear 1 or 2 outfits depending on their transformations. Kitty's got so many outfits. Though she is suspiciously lacking in sailor costumes. So there are indeed two ways to hurt this boss. One of them involves those spring enemies that we haven't seen for a very long time. The other one is a lot more direct. We just hit Ready Bear's missile back at him. We're only going to use the missile to hurt Ready Bear, because the springs gang up on you and they drain your health a lot. After Ready Bear takes damage, he shoots these weird colorful balls at you. You can avoid them by running fast enough. It also helps if you don't run in an absolutely straight line, but usually that works out anyway. So this is the rest of the fight. We just smack the missile at him and then run away from his colorful balls until he shoots another missile. He can also jump all around the arena because his machine is spring-loaded. And the spring monsters that we could also use to hurt him are actually under his machine, and he shoots them out to attack us whenever we get close enough. So it's kind of cool, but there's no reason to ever bother with those. I really like Ready Bear's character design, though. It's self-explanatory why the first boss was a general and why the second boss was a circus performer. But Ready Bear just dresses up in a teddy bear outfit. Nobody knows why. Also, all the parasols on the tables in this level have teddy bear faces on them. That's pretty cute. We're over halfway through the game now, by the way. The sky is exceptionally orange today. I would be a little concerned if the sky were this orange. Maybe it's a sign of the apocalypse. Welcome back to home base. It's time to change outfits again. I'm not sure Mimi will be too happy about this one because she usually wears the yellow bow. Mimi is also apparently too young or too much a wuss to help Kitty save the world. Her parents aren't doing it because they're not magical girls. That's self-explanatory. They never really mentioned this strange energy again, but we do get some ninja enemies. Their only attack is to jump up in the air and throw their shurikens around everywhere, which can honestly be difficult to deal with unless you jump or just dash past them. But they throw them in a wide pattern and there's always multiple of them, so it's actually kinda easy to get hit in this level. Another reason it's easy to get hit is because of these bombs on parachutes. If they land on you, they blow up, but after they land, they run along the ground to chase you. You can evade them by jumping over them. Combined with the ninja enemies, it can actually be really difficult to get away scratch-free. There are more difficult combinations of enemies, but only in one level. Also, you might have noticed that we have Purin with us again. That's because we didn't get a new ally from the boss battle, and Purin is my favorite of the assistant characters. So I'm sure you've seen all these torn up cars that are completely sliced in two and destroyed. There is a story-related reason for this, but it's going to seem pretty, dark when you see what our ally character is for this level. Also, these ninjas are trying to run away with one of our friends. We can't have that. I'm not sure they could write Kitty to seem more like a robot if they tried to. Her dialogue seems very disinterested. But she could just be pragmatic, you know, maybe she's all business. I'm not sure she actually has any lighthearted dialogue in the entire game. Yes, these yellow boxes do have the face of the boss character on them. Putting two ninja enemies on either side of a mini-boss is actually a really good idea. It's a shame the ninja enemies don't actually get that close, otherwise they might be a real threat. Oh yeah, I did say Purin was my favorite assist character, and I think it should be obvious why. It's because he's Purin. I mean, just look at his face. The gimmick of this level is finding batteries for runabouts so we can go and bust down some walls. And I guess we're just going to ignore all these cars that have been butchered, even though runabouts is a car. It's just kind of walking right past them, or scooting. So we need 6 batteries to fully charge runabouts, but we only need 3 of them to break down the first wall. There's no way you would know this unless you talk to runabouts after you get the first 3 batteries. All of the batteries are hidden in boxes around the parking lot. The batteries are like this size of runabouts. I'm not sure why someone just left them around in boxes. Here's a power-up item for Tabo, which, I mean, we're never going to use Tabo again, but that's nice, I guess. I feel like there should be a lot more enemies around the boxes than there are, especially since you spend a lot of the level looking for these batteries. Oh yeah, I suppose I should mention what Runabouts does as a support character. He rams his head into stuff. Now you might think Tabo already has that niche covered, but Runabouts does it much better. Anyway, as I was saying, Runabouts is much better at his job than Tabo because Runabouts is a lot more aggressive. He's probably the most aggressive support character. As you're seeing right here, he doesn't even wait a full second before he rams his head into them again. He just keeps at it constantly. So I'd say he's the most practical in terms of combat purposes. His ability may not be the most interesting, but you don't have to be interesting to be useful. Oh wow, I feel a little bit embarrassed. I didn't even mention Monkichi's special ability when we had him, but he didn't really fight anybody, did he? That level was mostly platforming. Anyway, Monkichi's special ability is that he can slow down enemies by throwing bananas at them. He's basically a worse version of Purin. The only downside to Purin, also I almost forgot this megaphone. The only downside to Purin is that he makes the enemies run away when he causes them to stop attacking. That's actually a really neat detail. So I wouldn't call that a flaw, since it's an intentional piece of game design. Anyway, we need to bust down the second wall with runabouts, and then we can fight another mini-boss. A new one this time. This one is blue and has a weird satellite array on his head that he uses to shoot waves at Kitty or something? It hurts her, so whatever. He also runs away a lot. I guess that's something unique about him, but aside from that, he works the same way as all the other mini-bosses. Also, Runabouts completely wrecks him. We have yet another new outfit, and this one is also yellow. It's almost indistinguishable from the other yellow outfit because it's hard to make out the texture. But this time it's the leopard pattern. Kitty's just feeling very yellow today. Also, she has a picture of Purin in her house, which obviously means she has amazing taste anyway. No introductory briefing for this level, but that's because the gimmick of this level also here's a power-up item. But that's because the gimmick of this level, aside from a minor chase sequence, is that it's really hard. I mentioned there was one level where the enemy combinations were more difficult than the last one, and it's this one. Mostly because of these guys with balloons on their head that throw bombs constantly. In combination with the ninja enemies, it's really difficult to find a safe place to stand. I do like the sports theming of this level, by the way. I like that you have to use these little ping pong tables as platforms. It's kind of cute. But the main challenge of this level comes from fighting the enemies, so we're just not going to do that. That may seem kind of lazy, but it's really the best solution available. We can see an advertisement for a water slide right there. I wonder if we'll get to play on that. So for some reason our friends are determined to kill us by placing us directly on this deadly water slide. Now you might think that Kitty's dash is an easy way to get through this no problem, but the ball seems to get faster as you get faster. Go figure. Also, even though this is a water slide, it's very horizontal, not a lot of vertical here. It's time for us to gain another new ally, this time it's Melody. What they were trying to tell you with that conversation is that Melody's ability is actually to heal Kitty during a fight. She doesn't really battle too much. Now, I've never actually been able to trigger Melody's healing ability. I don't know if this is because my health hasn't been low enough, but I've never ever seen it. These little moving barricades can be easily jumped over, so even though they're meant to push you off the platforms, that's unlikely to happen. Hello Kitty's grandma is over here, who's the only family member I'm actually interested in. So with Kitty's grandma safe, we just have to make our way over to our murderous friends, and then we can exit the level. The only reason I like Kitty's grandma is because she sells you the music in the game, but we're not going to buy it in this playthrough because there's no reason to do that. It's cute music, but this is a let's play, not a let's listen. Alright, this time we finally unlocked my favorite outfit in the game. It's the same as Kitty's normal magical girl outfit, just with prettier colors. Now she looks like an anti-hero. This next boss, for whatever reason, has a habit of crashing during the cutscenes for me, so I'm going to save. I think that's just an issue with my disc, though, and not the game. So just like Ready Bear, there are two ways to attack this guy, and this time they're both equally useful. Now, throwing the baseball against the walls so they bounce into the enemy might sound kind of difficult, because you figure you have to account for the physics, right? Well, no, you don't. You just throw the ball on the wall near them, and it immediately homes in on them. The boss himself has 3 attacks. He sends out 3 baseballs that bounce around the arena and can hit you. Very easy to dodge, just jump over them. He throws 3 baseballs in a row at you, very easy to dodge, just move left or right. Or he charges at you, very easy to dodge and can hurt him. So he's not challenging by any means unless you're standing close to him for whatever reason. Oh, I almost forgot his last attack. He just flips out and twirls around the arena like a nut job. That one's easier to dodge than any of the others. Here he's doing it right now. To be fair, he is invincible while he does this, but he's nowhere near you most of the time. Very easy, but he still has more variety than most of the other bosses. He might have more variety than any of the other bosses, actually. Hey, we're back, and I took the liberty of getting Hello Kitty her new outfit ahead of time, so we're just gonna head straight to the level now. It's that stealth level I promised would happen. So in spite of the game not being very subtle about the stealthiness required, there's no briefing for this level. But I mean, I'm sure anyone would be able to tell you that this is a stealth level just by looking at it. If we get caught by any of the big lights or the small guys with flashlights, then a ton of enemies will swarm us. The hit detection on the lights is fairly lenient toward us, but when there's more and more of them, it does get difficult. Here's a tree we have to knock over, the first one since the very first level, I think. And over here is another power-up item. Again, they're kind of useless, but I might as well show where they are anyway. I would say this level is the second most likely to frustrate the target audience, but I don't know about that. You can totally just bash your way through it if all the enemies spawn and come after you. I think it's more likely to frustrate adults who want to do the level perfectly. There's one particular room in this level that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to stealth past. But for all the others, the basic idea is to knock the enemies away from the buttons we need to press using Hello Kitty's jump attack. That makes it way easier. Because the enemies with flashlights patrol right around the buttons, which makes it very difficult to find a time to press them, unless you hit them. And for some reason, they don't notice you if you hit them using her jump attack. So whatever works. If you're really patient, you can even just kill them by using the jump attack on them enough times. You know, if you want to be really certain. So Pochi has a lot of attack power, but he still doesn't attack as quickly as Runabouts does. Still, he's kinda useful. He's also the last ally in the game. That means we're all done collecting Kitty's friends, and we have our full health bar. Here's the third and last tree in the game. Well, the last one we could knock over, that is. And there's yet another character power-up over here. This one's for Monkichi, who might have gotten the least action in the entire game. You might have noticed we have over 1,000 coins. That's a lot, but it's not enough to buy everything available in the game. But to 100% this game would require a lot of backtracking. You have to go and get all the character upgrades, and you'd have to grind for coins, and it's really just, I don't want to do that. But you know, maybe if you're a little kid and this is the only game you've had in a while that you haven't beaten, maybe it'll give you some mileage. A lot of Japanese games seem to be made with the idea that it's the only game you're going to be playing for a while. Even if it's a really short game, they put in a lot of features that encourage replayability. I mean, I'm of the mindset that all games are naturally replayable as long as you enjoy them, because why wouldn't you enjoy them a second time, but that doesn't mean they still don't put features in there that encourage it. Well, this was the room I was worried about. And some enemies spawn, but it's mostly just the rolly guys. All the blue enemies run away from you during this. You still have to defeat them to open the door, but they don't really hurt you. But we got caught in the only room that I was worried about getting caught in, so the rest of the level should be easy peasy. Not that this wasn't easy peasy, but it did take a while longer. Thankfully, I'm not attempting to speedrun the game, and you saw me getting stuck on top of my allies. They could, like, scoot over a little bit. That might help. But yes, as you can imagine, this level would take a lot longer if you got caught in every single room. And this is the only real instance of stealth in the entire game, so there's not much else to worry about. Thankfully, this room only has a single button in it. And then here's the last room where there's another mini-boss with a satellite dish on his head. As was already said, he works pretty much exactly like all the other mini-bosses, he just runs away more. No new outfits this time, but we did unlock the last weapon. Again, it doesn't do anything special. We're gonna change our outfit anyway, by the way. It doesn't do anything special, and it's also the weird one of the group. But, you know, we might as well show it off since it's there. Are you implying that blocks aren't living things? That sounds kinda rude. Anyway, those yellow lasers will indeed turn Hello Kitty into a block, and it's kind of adorable, so I'll make sure you see it at least once before the game is over. Fighting enemies without running into the yellow lasers is actually kind of difficult. Thankfully, that's what our jump attack is useful for. Also, those enemies with guns that we haven't seen since the train battle, I believe. As I already explained, they do fire a whole 3 times before they stop. So, you know, don't attack them early. This level mainly consists of hallways with yellow lasers, and then big rooms with enemies in them, and not a lot else. But the rooms with lasers are good enough, I think. Fighting enemies in a room where you have to also avoid other hazards is a good way to add variety, and keep the player from, you know, getting complacent. Whenever we enter a room with a gun enemy, we're always going to take him out first, because he can really be a pain and shoot you in the back while you're occupied. None of the enemy formations in this level are anywhere near the difficulty of the Arena of Danger or the Haunted Parking Lot. Now, if I were making this level, I would have been really mean and put the walking bombs in the same rooms as the yellow lasers. But I guess I didn't feel like being that mean. I'm sure you remember this mini-boss. We fought him a couple times by now. We're just going to use our first level Love Radiation to take care of him. Pochi's not getting to do a whole lot in this level. That is mostly because he takes forever to teleport into the next room. But that's his loss. We're still going to use our jump attack to take care of these guys, just like the last room with lasers. Runabouts would actually be very useful during this level because you would make taking out the enemies in these rooms a lot faster. And we'd be in much less danger of running into the lasers. And of course we're also going to jump on the coins above the lasers. Because even if we're not going to spin them, we still need them. Look at how shiny they are. I would like the blue ones. The blue ones are the prettiest, I think. Alright, so I believe there's only one more room with a laser in it, and it doesn't even have any enemies. And then after that, there's just a lot more fighting. The goal of this level is to collect 3 keys. You might somehow miss that with all the punching and the lasers and stuff. But we need to collect 3 keys to open the door to the mothership's core. And then we can take out the core and stop the block invasion. This isn't mentioned in the briefing. You figure they would use the briefings to give you some more story exposition, but not really. At least there's enough story exposition to know what's happening. We're gonna use our Love Radiation again to take out this guy. Like I said way back in I think the second video, maybe the first, it's the easiest way to get rid of mini-bosses. The second level attack isn't so much useful for that, but the first one is. And this was the last room with a laser in it. Kind of underwhelming. And right here is the last room with, wouldn't you know it, another mini-boss. We're just gonna use the Love Radiation on him like the last 2. I'm a little curious why these guys don't have keys that are block-shaped instead of shaped like a heart. Maybe they just stole these keys, you know? Alright, we got another new outfit again. This one's actually very pretty. So we're gonna stick that on before we go and fight the boss. the boss being the core of the mothership. And then we will have successfully repelled the invasion and saved the day. I'm not sure the rest of the world is even aware of what's happening right now, but we saved it too. You know, Carapi, I'm not sure you should just be throwing the word photon around like that. Anyway, the idea is just to double jump out of the way whenever the ball fires at you. There are several different ways we could time this. All of them are equally easy. This is in fact the only boss with multiple phases, because this obviously isn't the real boss fight. Far too easy for that, not enough gimmicks. Still a cute idea, though. So the second phase has some new attacks. It has a shockwave, it has lasers, and it can summon minions to attack you. Occasionally a magnetic barrier will appear and you need to shove the time bombs into the barrier. You can hurt it twice each time it does this. So the boss fight can actually go by very quickly. I don't know if I've ever let the barrier even suck up one of the enemies, but I believe it heals the boss if it does so. Also, of course, when the time bombs do actually explode, there is an enormous explosion. So better stay away from those. In spite of me getting hit by the lasers, they're not actually that hard to avoid, I just always forget they exist. The way to avoid them is just to dash back and forth. Also, in case it wasn't clear, Emperor Blocko's ultimate goal is to turn everyone on Earth into a block like himself and take it over. I've lost the manual, but I believe in the manual it mentions that Emperor Blocko usually fails in his plans. So he's not made to seem like a very cunning villain. Which is weird, because you'd want some element of tension, right? Professor Carapi, I'm like really not sure you understand what a photon is. Either way, we need to distract the block warrior long enough for the cannon to charge. We distract him in this first phase by throwing bombs at him. It stuns him for a moment and then he starts shooting a machine gun at us. The funny thing is that the machine gun he fires wastes way more of his time than our bombs do. Maybe he should learn to control that anger problem. Anyway, of course there is a limited amount of bombs, and even if we hit him with all of them, we won't have enough to stop him entirely. So after we run out of bombs, we just have to wait for him to punch all the rest of the buildings. Because we won't be able to move to the second phase of the fight until he does that. This is a very, very easy level, and I'm not sure how you could really screw it up. Even if you forego the bombs entirely and just wait near the turrets, then it would still be super easy to distract him until the cannon's ready. Because Carapi was nice enough to leave turrets for you to use to distract him with. The turrets can't reach far enough to shoot him until he crosses the bridge, but you could just wait. Even if the tension, I assume, is supposed to come from this boss fight isn't quite working, I can still appreciate the music and that it has the most unique gimmick in the entire game. Also, come on, it's a mech in a Hello Kitty game. That's pretty sweet. Alright, we're officially out of bombs to use, so now we have to wait for him to punch the rest of the buildings and cross the bridge. Alright, now we can use the cannons to distract him, and after we shoot him with the cannon, he fires yellow lasers at us, which turn us into a block. I told you I'd let you see it at least once. His yellow lasers also render the cannons inoperable for a short period, though. So we want to move away whenever he starts to fire it, so that way we'll actually be able to use the cannon again in a short period of time. But yeah, this is the rest of the fight, is running from cannon to cannon, and trying to make sure he doesn't blow up the cannon, so that way we can use them shortly. Or reuse them shortly, rather. After you figure out how it works, it's relatively easy. The worst thing you can do is get turned into a block over and over, because that wastes a lot of time. Depending on how young you are, I could actually see this level being somewhat tense and scary. Because even if it's really easy, I mean, there's still a giant mech stampeding toward all your friends, and he's presumably going to punch them up. But it's okay, because we have Professor Carapi on our side. And he does science stuff. Science stuff like turning Kitty into a magical girl? I don't know. There's another set of cannons further up that use a different kind of ammunition, but the idea is exactly the same, and you still can't hurt the mech, just distract it. But this seems as good a time as any to, you know, go up there and get those extra coins. Since there's no way he's going to be able to reach the laboratory before the cannon fires. Okay, so Kitty clearly lives in a capitalist society, as we can establish from the money in the supermarkets. Whatever he pitched to the government to get enough money to make that giant laboratory must have been some good stuff. I mean, it even has a vial on top with his face on it. Anyway, this is the end of the game. So, thank you for coming. I really like this game. It's adorable. Enjoy the ending. What is this, an extra video? Yes, there is actually a secret character you can get. It's very easy to miss him. It's in level 14, the one where you're on the mothership. I did lie to you about what the 3 keys do, but it was a good lie for a good cause. There are very few of those, but this is one of them. Alright, since we've just now obtained the last key, we're gonna go back a couple rooms to those secret doors and greet our extra character. There's a reason it's so important to save this character in particular. I mean, you should save all of them because they're Kitty's friends, but this guy in particular. It looks like we don't even trust Baditsumaru to hold his own against the Block Battalion. I mean, he is just a normal civilian, but that's kind of rude. We've had a lot of normal civilians help us out across the course of the game. Anyway, back at Kitty's home, we want to talk to Mimi and unlock Baditsumaru's profile. He was born on April 1st, real classy. But we have to unlock his profile for something very special. So after we're done reading about his character, we're going to waddle our way back to the title screen and click on New Game. Upon returning to the title screen after unlocking Baditsumaru's profile, we can now select him as a playable character for our new game. So of course we're going to do that. Alright, so we're in Kitty's house, but now we're Baditsumaru, and Baditsumaru is way better waddling than Kitty. He can't change outfits though, unfortunately, he's just always nude. Nobody in Kitty's family really talks to him differently in spite of him being a different person. He does get some different dialogue, but it's not really worth it. Let's go and check out if he plays any differently. So the answer is no, not really. Almost all the differences with Baditsumaru are entirely cosmetic. He runs differently, he jumps differently, his attack animations are different, but they do the same thing. He just has a head bump instead of a hip bump now. And his dash has been replaced with a roll, but it does the same thing. You may notice that the only real gameplay difference is that he has 2 apples to start with instead of 3 like Kitty. But he'll actually have 1 more apple than Kitty at the end of the game, because he gets more health upgrades. But yes, he plays not at all different, not even a little bit. And there are no unlockables for him either. Oh, you might remember from his character profile that he's a bad guy, or at least fancies himself as one. So you might wonder why he's saving the day. And that's because he wants to be the one to take over the world. He's gonna start his own battalion and do a better job than the Block Battalion. Also, canonically, this mode takes place after the main game. For some reason, Emperor Blocko is doing the exact same evil plan, but this time Baditsumaru is the one that's going to stop them. We are, of course, going to see how his special attacks are different and let him talk to Kitty's mom, because his dialogue is different. But aside from those few extra lines of text and a special surprise at the end, the game is pretty much the same. The only other gameplay difference, aside from Baditsumaru starting out with less health and getting more by the end, is that all the bosses have double the amount of health. But they're not actually more difficult, they just take more hits. So this is kind of a cute New Game Plus feature, but it's very underwhelming. Usually instead of changing the main character entirely, they change minor things in the game mechanics or game design. I think I prefer that. I mean, or you can do both, like Spider-Man the movie game did, but this is just a cosmetic change. The only real hint that Baditsumaru is a playable character is during the credits, where you see a screenshot of him fighting one of the block enemies. And here's his level 1 special, where he just kind of breakdances. There are 2 more things I have to show you with Baditsumaru, but after that we're done. That will be the whole game. Oh, real quick of note, the belly flop is just as good as Hello Kitty's mid-air attack, so, you know, that's something. So that was the real end this time, and thank you for watching me play Hello Kitty Roller Rescue. It's really fun. And that's, there's not much else to say about it besides that. Seriously, get out of here. I'm sure you got stuff to do. I'll see you next time.